Hello everyone. So in this lecture we will see the 100 most IMP MCQ for the research methodology used in both the paper first UGC NET. Now the unit is about research formula fundamentals, conceptions and types. So which of the following best describes the main objective of fundamental research? It is what the option what to develop theories by expanding existing knowledge. Next, research that is conducted to solve specific practical problem facing society or an organization is known as, okay, this word applied research. Now, an investigator studies the impact of a new teaching methodology on student performance over an entire academic year. This is an example of this is longitudinal research. Option B is the correct answer. Option number 4 or question 4. Which type of research is specially focused on immediate action to resolve a local practical issue or improve professional practices? This word action research. Option B is the correct. 5. The sequential cycle of action research is based represented by which of the following? So here the best sequence is what? Plan, act, observe and reflect. Now question number 6, qualitative research, okay, paradigms emphasize which of the following approaches? There is a what? Empirico inductive approach, the first A. Question number 7, which of the following research types aims in establishing causal relationships between variables by manipulating an independent variable? This is option what? The B, experimental research. A researcher conducts a study after an event or phenomena has neutrally occurred without manipulating any variables. This design is called, it is B, ex post facto research. 9. The philosophical perspective which asserts that true knowledge can only be derived through sensory experience or rigorous quantitative observation is, this was positivism. Option C. Post positivism strongly argues that, it argues what? The human knowledge is conjectural and subject to revision, though objectivity remains an ideal. Question number 11, which of the following is key characteristics of ethnographic research? This is what? B, in-depth study of a cultural or social group through pronounced, okay, immersion. Question number 12, phenomenological research is predominantly concerned with understanding. Option what? B, the lived experiences of individual regarding a specific concept of phenomena. 13, when a study combines both quantitative and qualitative research approaches to answer a research question, it is known as, इसको क्या कहते हैं? It is called mixed methods research. Now let us see question number 14, which type of research is conducted specifically to clarify ambiguous problems and explore a topic when very little prior information exists? This is called exploratory research. Option B is the correct answer. 15th, a study that aims to detail what is regarding the demographic profile, social situation or organizational structure without seeking causal factor. This is what? Descriptive research. Deductive reasoning moves from what? General principles and theories to specific observations. 17. Inductive reasoning is primarily characterized by moving from specific factual observations to the formulation of general theories. So it contains B answer. 18. The concept of falsibility as defined criteria or scientific theory was proposed by Karl Popper. This is option B. Let us see question number 19. According to Thomas Kuhn, a fundamental change in the basic concepts, the experimental practices or a scientific discipline is known as, this is a paradigm shift. Option D is the correct. 20. Which of the following research type is highly structured, emphasizes objectivity and generalizes finding across the wide population? This is option what? The quantitative research. A option is correct. Now let us see research design variables and the step of research. Question number 21 says the conceptual frameworks or blueprint within which a research study is formally conducted is known as the research design. Option B. In an experimental study, the variable that is deliberately manipulated by the researcher is called what? Independent variable. B is the correct answer. Now, 23, the variable that is measured to assess the effect of the manipulated condition is called dependent variable. B is the correct answer. 24, an extraneous variable that is systematically varies along with the independent variable, making it difficult to isolate the true cause of an effect is called, है ना, this what, this A is the correct answer, confounding variable. 25, a variable that links or mediates the relationship between an independent variable and dependent variable is termed as, and इसको कहा जाता है intervening mediating variable. 26, which of the following is the first logical step in the systematic research process? This is what identification and formulation of the research problem. Now, 27, a comprehensive and critical review of literature is primarily conducted to, for what? Identify research gaps and conceptualize the study. 28, a tentative testable statement predicting a relationship between two or more variables is called research hypothesis. C is the correct. A hypothesis that predicts a specific ambiguous direction of the relationship or difference between groups is called what? Directional hypothesis. The hypothesis of no difference or no relationship which a researcher seek to test and potentially reject is known as what? Null hypothesis. B is the correct answer. The alternative hypothesis is usually denoted by what? H naught. This is a H1 or HA. A key definition, a defining feature that distinguishes a true experimental design from a quasi-experimental design is a random assignment or of participants to groups. Okay, internal validity in a research design refers to what? The degree to which the study accurately established a true cause-effect relationship. Option B is the correct answer. External validity in a research design refers to what? The extent to which the research finding can be generalized to other setting populations under time. Question number 35, the threat to internal validity, where participants drop out a longitudinal study before its completion is known as what? The experimental morality or attrition. When participant this is option C, na? Okay. Participants alter their behavior simply because they are aware that they are being observed in a study. It is known as what? The Hawthorne effect. This is option B is the correct answer. A pilot study is fundamental conducted to arrive at final conclusions to publish early findings, test to feasibility tools and design the study of small scales, analyze the final data using advanced statistical software, introduce the research team to political authorities. This is what B is the correct answer. Test the feasibility tools and design of the study of a small scale. 38, an operational definition of a variable species. ऑपरेशनल डेफिनेशन ऑफ वेरिएबल स्पीसीज वो क्या होता है? द एग्जैक्ट प्रोडक्ट प्रोसीजर और ऑपरेशन यूज टू मेजर और मैनिपुलेट इट. 39, which of the following research design is most appropriate for study and development of vocabulary in the sample group of children from 3 to 10? This is what? Longitudinal design. Option D is the correct answer. A research design where neither the participants nor the conducting researchers known who is receiving the real treatment or a placebo is called what? Double blind study. B. Now let us see the third unit, population sampling framework and techniques. To complete aggregate to all element or units that possess a specific set of characteristics and form the focus of a study is population or the universe. 42, a complete updated list of all eligible sampling units in a population from which a sample is drawn is known as what? Sampling frames. Sampling frames, this option is the correct answer. 43, which of the following is a type of probability sampling technique? We all know the stratified random sampling, in which sampling method does every single element of the population have an equal and independent chance of being selected. This is simple random sampling. B is the correct answer. Okay, when a population heterogeneous and divided into mutually exclusive homogeneous subgroups based on specific traits, which sampling method ensure proportional representation? This is what? Stratified random sampling. B is the correct answer. 46, a researcher wants to select 100 students from an ordered list of 1000 students. She selected every 10th student from the list. This technique is called systematic sampling. Systematic sampling is B is the correct answer. 47, cluster sampling is highly useful and cost effective when the population is widely dispersed and geographically across large areas. 48, which of the following is a non probability sampling technique? Quota sampling. A sampling technique where the researcher selects unit based on their easy availability and proximity is known as convenience sampling. A is the correct answer. Judgmental sampling is another name for which the following techniques the purposive sampling. B is the correct answer. For 51, which sampling technique is most effective when studying hidden hard to reach a marginalized population, drug addicts, rare disease patient, by asking initial contacts to refer other? This was snowball sampling. C is the correct answer. Snowball sampling. 52, quota sampling differs from stratified sampling primarily because quota sampling is what? C, does not use random selection and relies on non-probability method. This word option B is the correct answer. 53, the difference between a sampling statistics, that is sample mean, and it is corresponding to population parameter, population mean, is called sampling error. This option B is the correct answer. As the sample size increases, the sampling error generally decreases. Sample का size बढ़ेगा, definitely sampling error decrease होगी. This B is the correct answer. Errors that rise during data collection, coding, data entry, or due to non-response, which can occur in both samples and complete census, is known as what? Non-sampling error. B is the correct answer. Now let us see 56, data collection instrument and scales of measurement. This is the unit 4. Data that is collected fresh or for the first time by the researcher directly from respondents is termed, इसको primary data कहेंगे, खुद collect कर रहा. 57, using census report, government publication and articles from academic journals for research data constitutes the use what? Secondary data sources. Now 58, which type of interview follows a rigid predetermined sequence of questions with no room for modification during the process? Structural review. Okay, this option C is the correct answer. 59, the questionnaire that allows respondents to answer in their own words without restricting them to predetermined choices is called an what? Open-ended questionnaire, as we seen in the last lecture. 60, the measurement scale that merely classified data into mutually exclusive distinct categories with no numerical value or order. Okay, that is gender relation is what? Nominal scale. Option A is the correct answer. 61, the measurement scale that ranks or order data points but does not specify the precise distance between ranks, okay, is the what? Ordinal data. Option B is the correct answer. Which measurement scale has ordered category with equal distances between values but possesses an arbitrary not true 0 point? This is what? Interval scale. Option C. 63, the highest and most refined level of measurement scale that possesses an equal interval and absolute true 0 is that what? Ratio scale. Option D is the correct answer. 64, the consistency, stability and repeatability of a research instrument or test or times refers to as its reliability. Option B is the correct answer. Now let us 65, the content, the extent to which the research instrument actually measures that is claimed or intend to measure is called what? The validity. Option B is the correct answer. 66. Administering the same test at the same group participant of two different points in time of check consistency evaluate what? Test, retest, reliability. Option B is the correct answer. Okay. Cronbach alpha is widely used statistical metric to measure what? Internal consistency reliability. Option B is the correct answer. 68. When experts evaluate whether the item of a questionnaire adequately cover all dimensions of the concept being studied, they are assessing what? This is a content validity. It means this option C is the correct answer. Now, a type of attitude measurement scale that asks respondents to indicate their level of agreement on 5 point or 7 point continuum ranging from strongly disagree to strongly agree is a what? Likert scale. Likert scale. B is the answer. Now, 70. The method of data collection involving small group of interactive individual led by a moderator to discuss a specific topic is what? Focus group discussion. B is the correct answer. 71. For hypothesis testing error and data analysis. In hypothesis testing, a type 1 error occur when researcher reject what? Reject the null hypothesis when it is actually true. A type second error occur when a researcher what? Fails to reject a false null hypothesis. 73. A level of significance commonly denoted by alpha represent the probability of committing what? Type 1 error. The power of statistical test is defined as the probability of correctly rejecting a false null hypothesis mathematically accessed as what? 1 minus alpha. Option B is the correct answer. Parametric statistical test make which of the following core assumptions? It is what? The data must follow a specific normal distribution and have homo homodasticity. Homodasticity. Which of the following is a non-parametric statistical test? Chi-square test, as we seen in last lecture. To compare the mean score of two independent group of the continuous variable, which parametric test is most appropriate? Independent sample test. B is the correct answer. When comparing the measure score of three or more independent groups, the appropriate parametric technique is used. What? Analysis or variance. There is a what? ANOVA. Option B. The chi-square test of independent is primarily used to analyze the association between what? Two categorical nomenclature variable. Option B is the correct answer. A person correlation coefficient R is minus 0.85 indicates a strong negative linear relationship or strong negative. This is option C. Now, 81. The statistical technique used to predict the value of independent variable based on the value of one or more independent variables is called regression analysis. Option B is the correct answer. In a perfectly symmetrical normal distribution curve, क्या होना चाहिए सबसे पहले? This mean equal to mod equal to mean equal to median equal to mod. If a distribution has a long tail extended towards the higher positive value of the distribution is said to be, it is positively skewed. B is the correct answer. The measure of data dispersion that calculates the average of the squared deviations from mean is what? It is called variance, as we have seen in class 11th also. So now the value of probability p value contained from test is 0.02 at a standard 5% level of significance. Alpha is equal to 0.05. The researcher should be reject the null hypothesis. B is the correct answer. Research ethics, okay, misconduct, thesis writing and ICT tools. The unethical practice of copying someone else's research ideas would represent them one on without proper acknowledgement is called plagiarism, as we have seen in last lecture. If a researcher makes a completely false data at experiment result and record or reports then in a paper, this scientific misconduct is known as fabrication. B. Manipulating research material, equipment, or process, changing, omitting data such as the research is not accurately represented is called, this is falsification. B is the correct answer. Now let us see 89 question. The practice of breaking up the single large compressive research study into multiple small thin thin paper to artificially increase publication count is called salami slinging. It is A is the correct answer. The ethical principle of informed consent mandates that participant must what this is voluntarily agree for participate after being fully informed of the study nature risk and benefits. 91, which section for the former research thesis contain detailed technical supplementary material like raw data sheet, extensive questionnaire and large reference charts. This appendix as we are writing what in the thesis also. Which of the following formatting style is most commonly utilized in the social sciences for referring the situation? This is APS style. APS style option is the correct answer. In citation formatting, what does the abbreviation ETAL means? It means and other. Option A is the correct answer. The abbreviation IBID is used for a footnotes or and notes to refer what the exact same source and the page cited immediately above. Which of the following software application is specially designed for reference management and citation formatting? This is a Mendeley. B is the correct answer. Which of the following tool is globally recognized primarily used for checking text plagiarism? This is a Turnitin. It is having a package also. Which of the following software program is widely used to qualitative data analysis QDA such as coding interview transcripts? This is a NVO. A unique alpha, there's a alphanumeric string assigned by the vote registration agency to identify academic article uniquely on the internet is what? DOI. Now, an indexing system or impact factor indicator measure both the productivity and citation impact. Specific researcher publication is what? All of the above. H index, I-10 index, G index, all. 100. The ethical review board and university is responsible for monitoring and approving research proposals involving human subject is known as this board institutional preview board or the ethics committee. So these are the 100 questions for the paper 1 UGC net. Best of luck for this and thank you for watching.